This section B, is about adding use of time information and data to your annual update. Now, CORE makes collecting your use of time data as easy as possible, but it can honestly be a pain to collect. I don't know any counselor who loves tracking their time use data for 1 week in the fall and 1 week in the spring, as we suggest. But I have heard from many school counselors who have said their use of time data was a lifesaver, rather a job saver, and has become one of their most powerful tools when advocating for more time to work with students. It's one of those cases of no pain, no gain, I guess, and it certainly applies here. Later in Module 5, we'll give you detailed instructions on how to collect your use of time data using our online time use tool, which is really cool and makes the process as easy as possible. But for now, here in Module 2, in your annual update, we'll use the use of time data just to enter into this table. When you go to Module 2, Step B4, and click on the pencil icon, you will see this table, which allows you to enter the use of time data for the entire school counseling program for each of the past 2 years, and also estimate or guess or hope how counselors in your program will spend their collective time in the current or upcoming school year. Note that there's also a shortcut to get to this table later on when you want to quickly enter your data. Just click on the blue button on the left-hand side labeled Use of Time Data. If this is your first year using CORE, you'll simply estimate or use your best guess as to the percentage of time you spent in various counseling activities last year as well as the year before. Then, as you continue updating CORE over the next couple of years, you'll add actual time use data from previous years to these columns on the left of your table. Remember that the last column of the table and the one on the right, it's always going to be a guess or prediction of how the counselors in your school counseling program would like to spend their time during this year or the upcoming school year. All 3 columns of this table make for a nice discussion when you meet with your school principal each year, which we'll talk more about in Module 4. A couple of things to note here. First, the percentages you enter in the columns must all add up from top to bottom to 100%. And second, the percentages you enter need to be the percentages for all of the school counselors in your school. If it's just you, that's pretty easy to do. But if there are 2 or more counselors at your school, you'll need to average the time use data for all of your counselors for each of the service categories so you can enter 1 percentage figure in each row of the table. Third, you will need to know and understand the various time use categories or descriptors used in the table. There are 4 school counseling service categories, which we described back in Module 1, that align to each of the 4 services provided by school counselors according to ASCA: direct services, indirect services, program defining, managing, and assessing services, and non-counseling or non-program. Here are, again, brief descriptions of each. Direct services are activities where you're working directly with students in individual meetings, small group classroom presentations, or other activities. And this is important, that are correlated to your school counseling program's goals. ASCA further divides direct services into classroom instruction, appraisal, and advisement, and we add scheduling in here too, and student counseling. Each of these categories should be fairly clear. Next, indirect services are those activities that are still focused on students but take place without students present. ASCA further breaks these down into consultation, collaboration, and referrals. Again, this category still focused on students related to the school counseling program goals, but done without students in the room. This might include talking with a colleague or a mental health agency about a student, or doing a teacher-parent conference, etc. Note here again, like we said last module, that ASCA says school counselors should spend at least 80% of their time in a combination of direct and indirect services. This is also a good discussion point at your principal and counselor meeting. The next time use category is program defining, managing, and assessing. And like the previous 2 categories, these activities align to the school counseling program's goals, but are tasks that occur behind the scenes, like collecting data, creating newsletters, working on a comprehensive counseling model like this. Now, ASCA does include here activities called fair share activities that may not be directly correlated to the school counseling program's goals, but are activities that, quote, all members of the school staff take equal turns doing, unquote. Activities such as hall monitoring or bus duty that everyone in the school is expected to do. And doing these tasks is simply fulfilling your quote unquote fair share like everyone else in the school. The fourth bucket, non-school counseling tasks, are, I think, self-explanatory. You and your administrator may differ on what falls into this fourth area of time use, so we suggest keeping a list of what activities you and your staff categorize as non-school counseling tasks or non-program tasks for potential future discussions. One last note here, it's a good idea right now to schedule a week in the fall and another week in the spring for collecting your use of time data. To the best of your ability, try to pick weeks that you think the work of the counseling office will be, I know this is tough, relatively normal, whatever that means. When you get to Module 5, we'll show you how to actually collect time use data and help you once again with the various categories and terms. For now, you're just estimating these time percentages for the past 2 years and guessing what they might be for this current school year. So click on the pencil icon in step 4. Take a few minutes now to enter your best guesses for each service category for the last 2 years, and then your best guesstimate for the current year. And again, make sure all of the columns add up to 100%. Don't worry or get too hung up on figuring out what specific activities go with which categories. Just give it your best guess and try to be consistent.